Hey garden maters, welcome to Corner Homestead. Today I am dehydrating eggs. Long-term storage, and we're going to start right after this. Hey garden maters, welcome to Corner Homestead. So yes, today I am going to dehydrate some eggs. I want to put them into my long-term storage foods. I do have Mylar bags because the beauty of them is you put the foods in the Mylar bags and they will be good for up to 25 years in your food storage of emergency foods. That is my goal, to get these eggs dehydrated, get them into the food storage. The chickens will be going through their molting period come the fall. Of course, they're not going to be producing as many eggs then, if any at all. So I want to get them dehydrated now while I have an abundance of them. So then in the fall, when I don't have them, I'll be able to use my dehydrated eggs. So I'll get started on getting the eggs dehydrated. It's going to be a long process in the food dehydrator, but hopefully the end results will be so well worth it. Let's get started. Okay, so this is the base to my little Ninja blender thing. It's just a 5-cup container. Use any blender you have, of course. This one has a very good blade onto it. It will actually crush ice into snowball type texture. But for some reason it will not powder the eggs. Don't know why. I've tried it and it will not do it. So I'm going to go ahead and crack in all 2 dozen of my eggs into this blender. They should fit, I am sure. Okay, so this is the full 2 dozen of eggs. It is exactly filled to 5 cups. I'll go ahead and get the lid on, and all I'm going to do is pulse this a little bit just to get it all blended up. Not long at all. And it's loud, so I'll spare you the noise. And that should be good. We don't want to blend it too much. So with my dehydrator, it is a 6-rack dehydrator. You may have already seen me use it before on this channel. But they come with these racks that are just their standard metal. So of course you can't pour eggs onto this. It did come with 1 plastic tray, but it's 6 racks and I needed enough for 6. So I did go on to Amazon and I ordered some of these silicone mats. They're very flimsy, of course, because they're made of silicone, but they don't have a very big edge on them. I would think that's only maybe, I don't know, 1/8 of an inch, if that. But I've used these in the dehydrator before. You literally just lay them right on top of the rack. And of course we're going to pour our eggs onto this. So one thing about these silicone mats is they will attract everything. And by that I mean lint, dust, pet hair, you name it, it's going to attract it. So every time I go to use these mats, I have to rinse them under water first. And do not dry them because it'll pick up the lint, any lint, from a towel, even a paper towel. So that's what I'll do before I go and use these. I will get them all rinsed just to be sure that there is nothing on them whatsoever. So of course I could bring over the trays and pour this right into the tray and carry it back to the dehydrator, but I would make a mess and it would be all over the place. So I have the dehydrator sitting on the kitchen table. Just gonna go ahead and fill them up. So in order to fill my 6 dehydrator trays, I ended up blending up a total of 3.5 dozen of eggs. Put them on the best I could to make them about the same amount per tray. Now my trays don't sit 100% level. They do lean just a little bit, so it will be thicker in some parts than others. I'm going to set the dehydrator to 140 degrees because anything higher than that would cook the eggs. Want to typically dehydrate eggs between 138 to 140. My dehydrator only does 5-degree increments. 135 would be too low, so I'm just going to go ahead and do them at the 140. And like I said, anything above that, you would be cooking them, and you don't want to do that. You just want to dehydrate them. Now it's going to take between 10 to 18 hours, depending on the thickness of the trays, to dehydrate. So for now, I'm going to set it for 10 hours, come back and check it when it's done, and then I'll go from there and see what else needs to continue to dehydrate. And I'll be back with you in the morning to give you an update. So, good morning, Garden Maters. I'm back again. The dehydrator went for 10 hours yesterday, and I checked them, and the outside of the eggs were all dry, but of course the centers, what had leaned, was not dry yet. I have a picture. I'll put it right here. That's the picture I took about 3 o'clock this morning. So the dehydrator has now gone extra time for a total of 14 hours. I'm going to get ready and check them again. We'll see if they're dried. So in this bowl is all the dried eggs that were on the edges that I took from it when I checked them at 3 o'clock this morning. We're going to try to go ahead and get these powdered. I may have to dehydrate these a little longer once they're powdered, because you want to be sure they're 100% dry. So I'm going to check the rest of the eggs after the 14-hour time, see how they did, and start getting things powdered up. Okay, so this is the tray that I showed you the picture. And they all look like they're pretty well dry, so I'm going to go ahead and take it and add it to the bowl. Okay, so I'm going to take my coffee grinder and I'm going to go ahead and try to get some of these powdered up. It didn't really want to work before in my Ninja blender. If you have a blender, a really good blender, a really good Ninja, or one of the higher blenders that can do a better job, you may want to just try one of those. Okay, so I want to make sure I get these as powdered as possible, so I'm going to take my poor old strainer but I would prefer to strain them, and then I'll just give these bits another go. That way they'll be as powdered as possible. Yeah, see, because those there they need to go back in. This is what we want to be left with. Pure egg powder. So I'll do all of this and be back when I'm done. Okay, so as I'm powdering them, I am working on taking the other trays out, and as you can see, this one is still very wet in the center, definitely not dehydrated. So I'm going to take away all of this dried part, and we're going to have to put this back in for a few more hours yet to finish dehydrating. So apparently that was a very thick part, but it's no problem. We'll get a few more hours. In the meantime, I'll work on the rest of the powder. Okay, so I just want to show you the difference. I've done my entire bowl. This is what we want, the powder. This is why I put it in a strainer, because you want the powder. This is like a real fine granule. So I'll just keep putting this back into the coffee grinder until it comes down to powder form. This does not rehydrate very well, and this fine granule is also what all my other blenders in this house seem to give me. Like I said, I don't have one strong enough to do it into a powder form. And right now, the coffee grinder is the strongest. But I just wanted to show you the difference between the fine granules. I'm not even sure if you can see how it's granulated compared to the fine powder. So just so you know, keep grinding until you got the powder. Okay, so in the dehydrator, I still have a piece that's about this big around. It's still going to be a few hours before it's completely dehydrated and I'm able to powder it up. But basically, what you're going to get out of 3½ dozen of eggs is just a little over a quart of powdered eggs. You want them to flow freely like this. That tells you they're good and dry. If they do not do this, you want to put the powder back into the dehydrator to hydrate it for a little longer. So I have this quart jar almost filled. I left it a little empty just for demonstration purposes. I have a little bit still in my bowl. And like I said, the little bit that's still in the dehydrator. Now they're not going to stay in this jar. I'm going to end up putting them into the Mylar bags. I have quart size bags, and these are just a little bit bigger than the quart. I'm not sure what size they are. Of course, I have gallon size bags, so I'm probably going to take all of the dehydrated eggs and put them into 2 of the quart size bags. Don't want to overfill them. And of course, into the bag, I'll be adding an oxygen absorber and a silica gel. Maybe 2 silica gels. You want to keep out the moisture. You want to keep out the oxygen. Very important to do that once you go to store these for long-term food storage. So dehydrating the eggs really couldn't be easier. It definitely works very good this way. Like I said, all total, it took 14 hours to dehydrate them, minus that little piece. I put it back in for another 3 to 4 hours it's going to take. In these eggs, you want to make sure you're killing out the salmonella. You don't want any traces of salmonella. In order to do that, you've got to put the eggs, cook them at 150 to 160 degrees is when salmonella is killed. That's why you treat these as raw eggs, because that is what they are. So rehydrate them. Fry them as you would a scrambled egg. You can rehydrate them and put them into your baked goods. As long as you're baking, it's going to kill the salmonella. You don't want it to show its ugly head, so you want to be sure that you take no chances when you go to actually use the eggs. I am going to go ahead and rehydrate 1 egg, and I'll go ahead and fry it up so you can see how they turn out. Basically, 2 tablespoons of egg powder to 2 tablespoons of warm water. That will rehydrate them. You want it to be an eggy consistency. If it's too thick, just add a little bit more water. So let's rehydrate one of these eggs and fry it up. Okay, so I'm going to take 2 tablespoons of the egg powder. Add in 2 tablespoons of water. Warm water. We'll go ahead and mix it up. I think it's definitely going to need more than 2 tablespoons of water. Look at that. So that is a little thick, so I'm going to go ahead and put another tablespoon. So we'll just give that a minute to rehydrate. Okay, so it's just been a couple of minutes, and you can see it's rehydrated very well. Perfect. Now you could put more water into it if you want. I did add just a touch. So this is about 3½ tablespoons of water to the 2 tablespoons of powdered egg. You can see it fried up beautiful. It looks just like scrambled eggs. One thing I forgot to do was to add some salt and pepper. But that's okay. It's going to give me the true egg taste. So like I said, if you dehydrate these from scrambled state, they say they're in very nasty, horrible, and extremely grainy. I've had them. They ain't lying. So, let's see how they did. That is perfect. If I did not know they were dehydrated, you would never know. It tastes just like scrambled eggs, minus the salt and pepper. Not grainy at all. Not one bit. They're perfect. They're perfect. They really are perfect. So I hope you decide, if you have extra eggs, please dehydrate them. Keep them in your pantry. Keep them in that long-term food storage for emergency use or whenever you need it. You put them in front of anybody, they're never going to know they were dehydrated. I'm telling you, they'll never know. Just like an egg. It's just like an egg. So again, 2 tablespoons of egg powder to about between 3 to 4 tablespoons of water, warm water, to rehydrate them. Can't go wrong. Just can't go wrong. So if you haven't already subscribed, please do. Love to have you as part of the community. Love to watch the garden maters grow. So until next time, I love y'all. Take care. God bless. And I'll see you on the next video. So it took a while because you have to wait for the dehydrating time, but I am telling you, it is worth it in the end. Great for the pantry.